Yo, what's going on, beautiful people? The Black Hokage here, aka TVH. And to be honest, I'd like to welcome you back to my show, Hokage Thots, the show where ain't no hoes, but we do think out loud here on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever you choose to listen to this show on. Today in which I'm recording this episode is May 16th, 2020. And at this point in the lockdown, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of numb. Nothing honestly bothers me anymore. It is what it is, man. It's just like, you know, you get up, you stream, you eat. Well, you brush your teeth, wash your face, check your Twitter, you eat, stream, work out, stream again, go to sleep. Don't get to talk to nobody, don't get to see nobody. But what can you do? Am I right? Quarantine. Now, before we get into the show, just know if you enjoy the show, make sure to rate the show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It helps move my show up the algorithm, which helps bring in new listeners. If you want to financially support the show, head on over to redcircle.com/Hokage Thots, and you can donate whatever amount that you see fit. If you prefer Cash App, though, send your donations to $ the Black Hokage 08. All donations are welcome, because I'm poor. Now, before we get into the show, got a quick bite story for you. We mainly just talking gaming and questions and shit like that. Quick little bite for you. I thought this was really interesting. Y'all let me know, what is this doing for you right here? AMC and Regal banned Universal movies from their theaters after studio throws a rock at theatrical window. All right, to summarize this article, basically what happened is there's that new, I think it's Trolls 2, the Trolls movie. I didn't even know this movie was a big deal, but I guess maybe it is amongst kids or something like that. What Universal decided to do was, instead of showing the movie in theaters, they decided to go straight to the consumer, and they released the movie online, and you can stream it right now and watch it. I mean, and the obvious reason that they did this was because the whole coronavirus thing going on. There's no way for, I mean, you can go to the movie theater. Does movie theaters count as essential? I don't think that's essential. It's not essential in my life. And that's actually kind of the whole reason I wanted to bring this up anyways. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not open. But yeah, the original story was, I think it was AMC. They were mad, but Regal joined in. So the two biggest movie theater chains in America were upset that Trolls went basically straight to streaming, straight to the consumer. They didn't get to make any money off of the movie. So now they're saying they're banning all Universal movies. Universal owns some of the biggest movies in Hollywood, but they're like, fuck that. You're not going to support our business. We're not going to support yours. It's supposed to be like a symbiote thing. We needed Trolls. We needed Trolls. I think the irony of this entire story is, I think this is the first time anybody was trying to welcome a troll into their life, but they tried to do it, but Universal said nah. So basically, AMC released this whole statement. Regal joined in. This is an update as of April 29th. I mean, we're mid-May now, but this is the update. So Regal Entertainment owner, the world's second biggest circuit, is following in AMC's footsteps. And they said, today we make it clear again that we will not be showing movies that fail to respect the windows, as it does not make any economic sense for us. What does that do for you guys? Does nothing for me. Anyways, I wanted to bring this story up because I feel like movie theaters I like going to the movies. I really do. The big screen, just being in a room full of energy, seeing how everybody else experienced the movies. I don't enjoy the fact that popcorn's like $1,000 for a medium, and then a large soda is like $100,000. I don't like the $200 date thing on Twitter. That shit is a myth. You take a girl to the movies, you paying at least $200,000. But that's beside the point. It's mainly because of snacks. Twizzlers is like $500. Like, it's just too much. It's just too much. But that's beside the point. I really do like going to the movie theater, but I brought this story up just to say that, like, movie theaters are not an essential part of my life, though. Like, if push comes to shove, and Corona makes it to where more big Hollywood groups like Universal start pushing their movies straight to streaming, just go straight to Netflix or whatever, Hulu, whatever service they choose to, I'm not gonna be upset by it. Like, it is what it is. Like, rent the movie from home for like fucking $10 when it's new, like for like a few hours. Like, it's not a bad deal. And I feel like the only people who don't get this is Regal and AMC. Like, honestly, we don't need the movie theater. I'm not gonna lie, I've been nervous to go to the movie theater ever since that Batman release. I don't know how long ago that was, but y'all remember when Batman came out and fucking they shot up the movie theater? Like, I've been nervous to go. You remember when the Joker came out? And like literally, like, first of all, when the Joker came out, first of all, shame on the media. You could tell from every media news piece, like, they just wanted a shooting to happen. Like, there's gonna be extra surveillance or extra security during the release of the Joker because we just don't know what's gonna happen. You want something to happen. I swear, for like a week or two straight, it was nothing but news stories like that. Like, and I was nervous to go see the fucking Joker because it might attract some crazy motherfuckers, bro. So like, yeah, they shooting up the movie theater. It costs fucking $500,000 for some Mike and Ikes. It costs $100,000 for a medium popcorn. And like, I'm gonna be honest, like, when I go to the movie theaters, y'all popcorn don't even be that fresh. I'm not even gonna lie, it don't even be that fresh. I've been to movie theaters where the popcorn was a little stale. I ain't gonna lie. The butter saved it with a little bit of flavor on that joint. The butter saved it. Sometimes y'all pretzels be dry. So this is a weird one. This one could go either way. Like, the reality is, if all these big Hollywood groups pull their movies from theaters and just start going straight to streaming, going straight to the consumer, kind of the same way they're doing with like the E3 and shit like that, this could be the collapse of movie theaters as we know it. My question to y'all is, do y'all actually care? I kind of sort of care, but not really, if that makes sense. It'd be kind of like, you know, like when Blockbuster collapsed, like, oh shit, there goes a staple in the community. Blockbuster, I grew up with that, but do we really need Blockbuster? You know, do we really need to go to the movie theater? No, but it would be nice if it still existed, I guess. Like, y'all gotta drop y'all prices on y'all popcorn and nachos too. Fucking listen, man, yo, motherfucker, they be charging like $1,500 for some nachos, right? Have y'all actually seen them make the nachos at the movie theaters? I be watching these motherfuckers, bro. This motherfucker goes into the back, grabs a bag of chips. They not even like fresh chips that they made themselves. I'll give them a pass if they marked up the price because they were making fresh chips, like their own recipe. No. They go in the back, they grab some Tito's, the same shit you got at the grocery store for $2, the family size. They charge you $10 for the kid size. They get the Tortitos out the back, they get the fucking cheese out the bucket, and they turn on the microwave, bro. And then they want to charge you $1,500 million for some damn nachos. Fuck the movie theater. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm glad I got that off my chest. We always start off with a great little news story, just that I wanted to put out there. But let's get into the real meat and potatoes of the show. All right, so today on the podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about some gaming stuff. We're going to be talking a little bit about whatever questions that y'all asked, and then a lot of music drops since I last did a podcast. Not that I'm an expert on music, but just letting you know what I've been listening to and stuff like that. I mainly just wanted to focus on the gaming and the questions because there was a lot of gaming stuff, and that I feel like that's going to fill up a lot of time. Since the last podcast, for those of you unaware, I finished Final Fantasy VII as well as Doom Eternal because I actually beat my games, unlike some people in GI. So we're gonna talk about that as well as some other gaming stuff. So we might as well just go ahead and get right into it. Just as a reminder, please rate this show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It's the best way to help grow the show. And if you have any questions that you want to submit, follow me on Twitter at Mr_I_Keep-It-Real. All right, gaming. Since the last podcast, I finished Final Fantasy VII, the remake, on PlayStation 4, PS4 exclusive. And for those of you unaware, we're gonna go ahead and do that review just to get this for just a clearance. If you don't want to sit here and listen to everything that I have to say in detail, did I like the game? Absolutely. Is it worth $60? Absolutely. This is one of my favorite games of the year, just for clearance. And here's why. This is gonna be kind of weird, but I want to go ahead and say this just ahead of time. So I really sat down and tried to write down all the positives and negatives that I had for the Final Fantasy VII remake. And I ended up I don't know if this is the first time this has happened, but it might be. This is the first time, at least I can remember. I wrote down for the positives, I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I wrote 7 positives, and then the negatives, I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 8 negatives. So I think this is the first time I've ever had more negatives than positives Yet I'm not only am I still recommending this game, I'm not recommending it for the price drop. I still love the game. I still think it's worth $60. I think just for like clarification, yes, I'm going to list more negatives, but for clarification, I want to say that the positives were so much stronger than the negatives that it didn't even matter to me. But just to be fair, like these are the things that I did notice, and I wanted to write it down in my show notes. I got a damn crumb on my shirt. Anyways, oh yeah, if you want to watch the video version, come over to youtube.com/theblack-hokage. All right, so the positives of Final Fantasy VII. First being the new change on the combat. So for those of you unaware, the original Final Fantasy VII, it was a turn-based JRPG, but this one is more, it's a mix of real-time and the traditional kind of turn-based, and they kind of sort of try to do it with 15, and it was okay, but it just didn't work as well. I feel like with 7, they kind of took that system and they kind of perfected it to the point that, like, I think they moving forward, at least for the next few games, I think that they should adopt this combat system in Final Fantasy. I actually really enjoyed the combat in Final Fantasy VII's remake. So the way that it plays is, at first glance, it looks like a hack and slash game like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry, and it sort of is, but it's not a button masher because there are, what's the word I'm looking for? There are, when you hit the square button, he not throws the sword, but he slashes like a certain number of times off a rip. It's like canned animations. So if you hit the square button, he'll slash like 2-3 times. So if you keep mashing the square button, you can actually get caught up in the fight. So at first glance, it looks like a hack and slash, but no, it's more of like a timing hack and slash. It's kind of hard to explain. Basically, you don't want to mash the square button. You want to hit it a couple times and hold block, hit it a couple times. There's like an ebb and flow to it. But I actually really, once I finally understood it, because at first I was button mashing, I didn't really get it. I was like, what the fuck? But once I finally understood the ebb and flow of the combat, I learned to really enjoy it, and I like that change. When you're not swinging your sword or throwing hands with Tifa or casting the magic with Aerith or shooting your gun with fucking the black guy, you can also slow down the game by hitting the X button. When you hit the X button, a menu pops up, and it's like the traditional turn-based menu. And from there, you can cast spells as well as use abilities. And the way that you can use abilities and spells is you have magic points as well as the ATB. And ATB fills up from basically producing combos in combat. It's like almost like think of it as like an adrenaline meter. Whenever you hit people, you successfully hit them and do combos, your adrenaline meter goes up. And then once you fill that bar, you can use one of your abilities or cast one of your magic spells. So you have to keep in mind of the ATB as well as the MP. So it has like a nice little balance to that. So, and I liked it too, because when you bring up the menu, it slows down time. Combat can be very fast paced. And when it slows down time, it kind of just gives you a second to think about it. Actually, you know what? You know why I really like it? I just had this epiphany. I did not put this on my notes. The combat reminds me of Mass Effect. Mass Effect had real-time combat, even though it's a shooter. Mass Effect was a third-person shooter. It was still real time, and then you could slow down time by bringing up the ability wheel. It's the same exact thing now that I think about it. The only difference is Cloud has a sword and Tifa throws hands, although Barrett does have a gun too. But it's similar to Mass Effect, so it's like real time, but then if you want, you can slow down and choose to have abilities. And just like Mass Effect, actually, yo, my mind is fucking blown. I'm surprised I didn't think of this. This is why I liked it. It reminded me of Mass Effect, the greatest fucking RPG of all time, the original trilogy, not Andromeda, by the way. So not only can you use the menu to shuffle through abilities and magic, you can also hold down, I think it was L1, and that would bring up a quick menu, and you can equip 4 different moves. So if you want to throw a fire spell quickly, you just hold L1 in combat. So if you wanted to keep the combat in real time, you could have 4 quick abilities equipped, and you can just throw it. You hold L1 and then hit the corresponding button. So L1 in X, L1 in circle, L1 in triangle, and it would do like a different ability. So I really enjoyed the change of combat. Like I said, I really hope that they keep it this way for the next few games. And then of course, if you build up what also made the combat fun is they have a stagger meter, so every enemy can get staggered. Basically they get tripped up and they can't move, and you can do extra damage. Basically they get stunned, and while they're stunned you do extra damage. And what made it fun is each enemy type had a different way of becoming staggered. Some, if you just hit them with a sword enough, eventually they would become staggered, but some enemies were weak to fire, some were weak to wind or ice or lightning. Some were weak to like different types of combinations and stuff, and you had to use like the accessibility to figure out what their weakness is, to figure out how to stagger them some as quickly as possible, because some enemies were like tanks, and the only way to really truly damage them is build up that stagger meter to where they're weak, and then you can really put some damage on them. So I like that addition of the stagger. It made you think. It almost reminded me a little bit of a Pokemon, because whenever you ran into a new enemy, you had to use the accessibility, you figure out their weakness, hit them with the combo, stagger them, the magic stagger them, and then you do that. So I really enjoyed the combat. Mwah, kudos to them. I hope they continue to do that. To be fair, here we go. Negatives. The first negative that I had for this game was there were no weapon loadouts. So in this game, you need materia, and materia is basically like different abilities and spells that you get in the game. And each weapon and each like accessory that you wear can hold a certain number of materia, basically spells or abilities. The problem is your party is constantly switching out in and out the story. Like there's like, you literally do not even, you get Barrett at the beginning of the game. Like the beginning of the game is what, if you play the demo, you the Barrett with the guy with the black gun, you get him at the beginning of the game. Once you run through the demo mission, he disappears and he does not come back till chapter 14. Why the fuck can I not just swap out loadouts and give his material to somebody else? So basically what I'm trying to say is it was annoying because like Aerith disappeared to like chapter 18. The characters disappear and you build up their loadouts for them, and then they disappear and then you can't even use that material. So then you have to sit there and swap each material out and see who's got what equipped. It would have been nice to have like a loadout that I could just throw on somebody, kind of like Call of Duty. So it was annoying to have to sit there and manually switch out spells and abilities because characters are constantly going in and out of the party. So I think for the next remake, for part 2 of Final Fantasy VII, if we can get loadouts on characters so we don't have to constantly shuffle through fucking menus and read shit, that would be great. Second positive, I really enjoyed the world and the story. I put these as 2 separate bullet points, but I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing. The world and the story. For clarification, I played the original Final Fantasy VII, but I played it at a friend's house like a couple times. I never beat it. So to be honest, if this is technically my first real playthrough, because I didn't really know much about it other than, you know, who dies. Because I mean, that's a meme at this point. But like I said, like I grew up with Nintendo. And we were poor, so that's what I had to play Duck Hunt for a million times. I grew up with Nintendo. My friend had a PlayStation, and I would go to his house and play it sometimes, but I never actually got to experience the full game for myself. So this is technically my first real playthrough. This review is coming from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have much experience with the past games. So I really enjoyed the story and the world. The world is vibrant, it's colorful, the graphics are amazing. The story was very interesting. I don't want to like at this point the game's 20 something years old, is it? Although there's a reason they call it a remake, because my chat explained it to me. They changed some things in it, but I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say I enjoyed the story for what it was. Okay. That being said, even though I did enjoy the story, on the negative side of things, I enjoyed the story for the plot. If I could pick apart the story, the actual characters and the voice acting is a negative for me. I think this is the first time this has ever happened to me. Usually, like when you bring up the story, the characters, the voice acting, it all kind of goes hand in hand. No, I'm specifically talking about, I like the plot that pushed you forward to get from point A to B. That was interesting to me. But the actual characters, I'm not gonna lie, after completing this game, I don't understand why people have such an affinity for Cloud. Cloud is a boring character. He's not interesting. He barely says anything. Honestly, I think people just like him because he has cool character design and he has a big BBC sword. But he's not interesting. And the crazy part too is like the bitches was just all over him in the game too. Although bitches love a mysterious nigga, so never mind. I can understand that. But he wasn't a particularly interesting character. He didn't have anything profound to say throughout the game. He was just a soldier with a sword. And that goes for a lot of different characters. I like Tifa was cool. She was cool. Aerith wasn't interesting at all to me. She was just kind of like your pure innocent, you know, Karen type character. Barrett was a walking black stereotype. Oh man, I got a big gun. Where the chicken? I cannot stand fucking Barrett. I couldn't stand Wedge, fat loser. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna hold you, like, it really wasn't any characters that like I really loved. I liked Tika. I liked Tifa, but I didn't really love her, and I didn't really love any character in this game. I found most of the characters to be boring or annoying. And on top of that, the voice acting is, I'm not the type to complain about voice acting because I watch dubbed anime, but I'm not gonna lie, the voice acting was not very good in this, and like the mouth movements, the animations, like it didn't sync with the lips. So the voice acting was bad, and then the lip syncing, it wasn't good either. So understand, when I say I like the story, I like the plot, what pushed you from point A to B, but the actual characters themselves, they weren't particularly interesting. That's a negative for me. Going back to positives, I feel like this is rare that I say this, but a positive for me, and this kind of pertains to the story, this game had a very satisfying ending. For a game that's being stretched into multiple parts, I was pretty sad. I liked the ending. I liked what they did with it, especially when the Twitch chat kind of explained to me, because like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with Final Fantasy VII. I understood the gist of what was happening in the ending, but then they explained to me who like Zack was and all that other stuff. So I was pretty satisfied with the ending. And what happened, and I thought it was cool. I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, but I'm going to give kudos to the ending. Obviously, it ends on a cliffhanger because there's going to be a part 2, but it was cool. It was cool for what it was. Another negative, the camera. The camera, when you're running around, it's cool. When you're fighting, for the most part, it's cool. But when you fight flying enemies or super fast enemies, oh my God, the camera in this game is awful. I'm not going to lie. Yo, if you watch my playthrough, I uploaded my whole playthrough at youtube.com/blackhokage plays. That's my second channel. If you watch my playthrough early on, you thought I was going to quit. I'm not going to lie. I almost did uninstall this game because it's like Kingdom Hearts 3 bad. When you get into the air, the camera just starts spazzing all over the place. A lot of times it would spin into a wall and get stuck. When there's fast enemies, it's constantly going left and right. And there's the option to pull back the camera, but it still doesn't help that much. So I'm letting you know, like right now, you're gonna have to learn to tolerate the camera. It's not very good. It doesn't know what it wants to do sometimes. It feels like a Final Fantasy. I don't want to say Final Fantasy 7 because that was the original was a what's the word I'm looking for? It was a turn-based, but it feels like a 90s camera. Let me put it that way. A positive, boss fights kept you on your toes. The boss fights and the set pieces, epic set pieces. When you're riding on the highway, you're fighting that fucking big ass robot. All the monsters, all the boss fights are fucking big. They're epic. They test your abilities, and they force you to use your abilities. And like I said, that kind of goes into what I said earlier about the stagger meter. That was what's cool about the boss fights. None were really alike. They all fought differently, and you had to use a different strategy to beat them. So I really enjoy a good boss fight, and none of them had the same attack pattern. They all had like different attack patterns, different things that you had to do that made you think and stay on your toes. So shout out to them for creating some really dope epic scale boss fights, and you got a sense of satisfaction once you beat them. The next negative I had is this is a remake, and this game is full of padding. And you know what's crazy? Like I said, I didn't even beat the original Final Fantasy VII, and I could tell this game was full of fucking padding. My audience on Twitch, in the chat, the ones that have beat the original game, they were telling me that like a lot of stuff that's in the game wasn't in the original game, and I guess the producers were saying they were trying to build the world. Like apparently this game, this remake, is only like the first 3 to 6 hours of the original game, but somehow they took the original 3 to 6 hours and they stretched it into. It's being reported that most people, it's taken them 30 to like 50 hours, depending on how many side quests you do. It took me 46 hours to beat the game. I did most of the side quests. I would say I beat the game at probably like 95%, to be honest. I did most of the side quests, so it took me 46 hours. This game is full of fucking padding, and I'm not gonna lie. It's a lot of slow walking and talking about nothing. Terrible platforming sections. I'm talking about like you go somewhere and there'll be like a triangle on the ground and you have to step on the triangle at the right angle to make the character jump. It's basically a cutscene, a loading screen. Fucking a lot of areas where like you would slide into a little hole and that you could tell that was just a fake ass loading screen. And what made it really annoying is like there were a lot of side quests, and I have no problem with side quests, but the best side quests in my opinion are the ones that don't feel like side quests. An example being Mass Effect 2. You did not have to do the loyalty missions, but if you did the loyalty missions, your characters became stronger, they became more loyal to you, and it played a role in the final mission. And like it helped the overall main thing. These side quests in this game, it's just a bunch of fetch quests, doing shit for shopkeepers. Go kill a few rats for me. Hey, mister, I lost my cat. I hate missions like that. It doesn't do nothing. It doesn't push the narrative forward. It's not fun. At bare minimum, it's got to be fun. It doesn't even have to be like, it doesn't even have to pertain necessarily to the main story, but at least make it fun. And I found the side quests for the most part to not be fun at all. And what's really annoying about it is you don't have to do them, but I felt inclined to do them because some of the best materia, the best spells and abilities were locked behind side quests. So there's a lot of padding in this game, and you're kind of forced to do it if you want to have the best loadout. Because I'm not gonna lie, some of the final fights in the last like 2 hours of the game, some of the boss fights, they're pretty tough. So the padding, I didn't like it. Like I said, it took most people 30 to 50 hours to beat it, according to howlongtobeat.com. It took me 46 hours. I think they could have cut out like 10 hours of this game and made it like 20, and it still would have been a great game with less fat on it, but whatever. Another positive, the game is gorgeous. I kind of said that earlier with the world. The world is, you want to explore it. Bright colors. I'm not gonna lie, I looked at this and I was like, this is not like, it's definitely pushing. You're gonna hear your PS4 fans. I got a PS4 Pro. You're gonna hear the PS4 fans. It's gonna be loud. It's definitely pushing the PS4 to its limit. But the game is gorgeous. It definitely stands out in the PS4 catalog. And I'll also say, I didn't put this on my notes, but here's another positive. I'm surprised how optimized this game is. It runs at 30 frames. It runs at 30 frames per second. I can't talk. It runs at 30 frames per second, but not once do I remember that the frame rate dropped. That was one thing that I was worried about, because you can tell that this game is graphically pushing the PS4 to its limits. So I was worried, like during big boss fights or whatever, that the frame rate was going to drop or something. Although I always prefer 60 frames or above. If you only give me 30, as long as it's a stable 30, I'll deal with it. The 30 frames is stable, so the game is optimized. I'll give them that much. So that's a positive. It's gorgeous and it's optimized. Another negative is fast travel in this game is pointless. First of all, you have to do a mission. You have to do there's a side mission in the game. You have to do a side mission where you have to go in chocobos, you know, the big chickens that you can ride on. Chocobos are how you fast travel. You have to do a side mission where a bunch of chocobos get loose out of the out of the stable. You have to go find them all throughout the world. You have to find these chocobos, and each time you find a chocobo, it'll unlock a new fast travel point. So once you unlock all the fast travel points, then you can finally fast travel, but you have to do that mission. But what sucks is you don't get fast travel till chapter 14, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. There's 18 chapters in the game, so you don't get the fucking fast travel until chapter 14, and there's 18 chapters in the game. It's honestly useless, because by the time chapter 15 and 16 come around, I think you can't even use it anymore. I don't know why they didn't put fast travel in the game by fucking chapter 2. It's completely pointless. I don't understand. That's a negative for me. A positive, the game felt fair. This game is a good challenge. I didn't play the game on hard. I play the game on normal because I play my games for fun. I don't care to flex my e-penis. I have nothing to prove to you fucking weirdos and creeps. I play my games on normal, and on normal, I felt like it was a good challenge. It was fair. The last few boss fights were pretty challenging, but I don't remember. There was never a point where I got straight up stuck. There were points where I died maybe once or twice, and then like on the third time I would get it. But there was never a point where like I got straight up stuck for like a fucking hour straight. It felt like it was fair. It always felt like when I lost, it was my fault, and I learned and I got better a little bit each time. So I will say that this game felt like it was a fair challenge, and I think that's a positive, because a lot of times games be too easy in the beginning, and then you get to the end and there's a crazy difficulty spike. Fuck that shit, bro. Fuck that shit. So that's the one. And then a few more negatives. The dodge mechanic in this game is pointless. You hit circle on the controller to dodge. Cloud will roll, everybody will roll. And he does this roll where like he barely goes forward. Like he almost rolls in place. It's really weird. Almost like he's rolling backward like a yo-yo, if that makes sense. So like, I'm gonna be honest, if you decide to pick up this game, like don't use the dodge mechanic very much. Just hold the block button. I'm telling you, the game would be so easy. Just hold the block button. Don't even bother fucking trying to dodge. Dodge mechanics are pointless, and it's like, why put it in the game if you're not gonna... It makes it feel less like a real-time. That's the one criticism I had on the real-time combat. It makes it feel less like a real-time, and and I think if they can perfect the rolling mechanic, get it to like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta levels, it'll feel more like an action game. So they got to work on that. And then the other negative, I felt like the map navigation sucks. Some people might disagree with me, but I felt like sometimes navigating the world was just like, it wasn't very fun. The map was kind of a little bit difficult for me to read, but that's my personal opinion. Some people might not agree with that. That was kind of 50-50. Some people in the chat agreed, some people didn't. So those are my positives and negatives for it. Like I said, I have more negatives than positives, but the positives that I do have, they're so strong, they outweigh the negatives in my opinion. And because of that, when it comes to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I fully recommend it. It's one of my favorite games of 2020 so far. I think it's worth $60. Like I said, you're gonna get 30 to 50 hours out of it. I think that's fair for $60. My only concern is there's an article that recently came out, like right after I beat the game. The producer of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, he said that like he loves the overwhelmingly positive response that this game has gotten, and he wants to get the next pieces of the game out as quickly as possible. And I was under the impression that there was going to be Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then there was going to be like a part 2, and that was going to be the end. But he's talking about he wants to release more pieces out quicker and in smaller bites. And how much you charging for that? Because I'm not gonna lie, y'all. If they put out like fucking 5 parts to this Final Fantasy VII Remake, like let's say this first part is 30 to 50 hours, and then after that they drop little 8-hour increments, part 2, part 3, part 4, and they're charging $60 a piece, I'm not buying this shit. This will be the first and last part that I play. I'm not gonna lie, fuck that. I can't support that business model. That's what the producer said. He wants to get the pieces out faster, and I understand that. But he also said he wants to release them in smaller bites. And I'm like, nah, dog. If that's what you was going to do, I would have preferred them to put out like an $80 edition of Final Fantasy VII Remake, where if you pay $80 up front, you get the first remake, and then everything after you get that as well as like a digital download. I would have done that. Maybe even like $100, something like that. But you want to, like, we got to see what that pricing model is like. I'm not fucking with that, dog. Nah, fuck that shit. But other than that, I recommend the game. Check it out. It's cool. Let's get off the topic of Final Fantasy VII, and let's get on the topic of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It was revealed, and you know, I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, let me get a swig of this water. I've been talking, bruh. While I'm getting a swig of this water, make sure to hit 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and send a brother a donation at $sign the Black Hokage 08 on Cash App. Hold on, let me get a swig of this shit real quick. Okay. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm not gonna lie. When this first leaked, it leaked like a year ago from what was it called? The Division 2. If you played the Division 2, you remember there were some posters on the wall in the home base, and it was of a Viking holding what looked like a piece of the Apple of Eden. And for those of you unaware, Ubisoft has slowly been creating what I basically suggested. It makes me wonder if they watched one of my videos. I suggested that they create the Ubisoft cinematic universe, kind of like the MCU, where all the games are connected, and they slowly been doing this. You see Sam Fisher showing up in the Ghost Recon games. Templars show up in Watch Dogs. And then you got the Apple of Eden, Assassin's Creed appearing in the Division. So they're slowly but surely creating this cinematic universe, and it makes me wonder if they're gonna create one game to finish all the games. That would be fire. Where fucking the assassins. Let me stop talking about this, bro. No, because I need to give them ideas. Like the assassins come together and they team up with the fucking Division, and Division and the assassins, they team up with fucking Ghost from Ghost Recon. and the Rainbow. Oh yeah, Rainbow. I think some characters from Rainbow appeared in Ghost Recon 2. Fucking the characters from fucking Rainbow, they appear, they get together and they just storm the Templars building, because the Templars have to be the overarching enemy. The Templars got all the pieces of Eden or something. They got all the space magic, and fucking the assassins and what's the name from Rainbow Six Siege pulls up with his hammer to bust the wall. Fucking Thatcher busting down the building and shit. That shit would be fucking fire. But that's beside the point. Ubisoft revealed Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's gonna be Viking themed. At first I was like, whatever, but I enjoyed Assassin's Creed. I enjoyed Assassin's Creed Odyssey so much. I didn't want to say it at first. I had to sit and let it marinate, but I'm saying it right now on the fucking podcast. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood used to be my favorite Assassin's Creed. Then it was Assassin's Creed 2. But I have to say, Assassin's Creed Odyssey has moved up as my #1 Assassin's Creed game. I think maybe Origins had the better story, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey, in my opinion, had a solid story. Don't knock it if you didn't play it, because it does feed into the Assassin's Creed timeline. It had the best gameplay, in my opinion. It was just very fun. The only fair criticism, in my opinion, of Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the game was padded like a motherfucker. That is true. I 100% agree with that. There was way too many fucking side missions. The map was too big. That is a 100% fair assessment of it. But like the people who say I'm not gonna play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, what the fuck does this have to do with Assassins? Well, if you played the game, spoiler, I'm not gonna completely spoil it, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey has to do with the birth of the Templars. Assassin's Creed Origins it takes place before Assassins existed in Odyssey, because Odyssey is before Origins in the timeline. Origins is about the birth of the Brotherhood. Odyssey is about the birth of the Templar Order and kind of what inspired the Assassins to eventually come. So it completely falls into the timeline in the story, and if you didn't give it a chance, that's on you. But like, in my opinion, the story was fine. I enjoyed it, and the gameplay was fucking fire with all the fucking space magic and that shit, bro. Fucking teleporting and stabbing niggas. I love that shit. But anyways, I'm willing, after Odyssey, I'm willing to give Valhalla a chance, and Origins too, because I really enjoyed Origins. I'm gonna give Ubisoft the benefit of the doubt and say they know what they're doing. If they pull this, in my opinion, if they pull this off with Valhalla, this new trilogy of Assassin's Creed, this reboot, is probably better than all the games. Some people don't like the RPG elements. I like it. But with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, one thing that I'm seeing is they said that they're addressing that criticism that people had with Odyssey, that the game was very padded. They said that this will not be, in a tweet that's deleted, by the way, the producer of Assassin's Creed, he tweeted out that Assassin's Creed Valhalla will not be the biggest or the longest game in the series. So it sounds to me like they're shrinking down the map and then they're condensing it with more content, but even still, it's not going to be the biggest game. And to me, that's good, because that says to me they're focusing more on core gameplay and core story instead of just trying to make the game really long. So I liked what I heard about that there. They also said that instant kills are back. That was one fair criticism also of the last two Assassin's Creeds, Origins and Odyssey, because it was more RPG driven. You had to level up your character a certain type of way to get instant kills. In this, it's going to play more like a traditional Assassin's Creed, the older ones, where if you catch them off guard and you stab them in the neck, it's a stealth kill and they're going to die. I'm not going to lie, that is one thing that used to piss me off about Odyssey. Like, you would pull up on somebody when they were caught off guard, you'd stab them in the neck, and then they turn around and they say, "Hey, there's the bad guy." It literally made no fucking... If somebody pulled up on you behind you and stabbed you in the neck, even if you didn't die, at bare minimum, you would fall down and say, "I'm bleeding, nigga, I'm bleeding." And then you would bleed out and probably die because they hit your fucking jugular. But like, you would stab somebody in the neck when you stick behind them, and then he turn around and say, "Hey, I think I heard something." Just that's a fair criticism of the game. So they're bringing back insta kills, they said. And then also I read that social stealth might come back too. That was something that was missing in Assassin's Creed that I didn't even realize it until I saw it in a video. So basically, like, the elements where like you could sit on a bench to hide or hide in crowds. When I thought about it, like, yeah, that element was removed. So social stealth, they said, is going to come back. You're going to be able to get into like roast and rap battles. They said roll dice. Fucking the boat stuff is back. They said you can dual wield pretty much any weapon. It's gonna take place like some English time. It looks like the king is up to something. Like from the trailer, it looked really interesting because I'm pretty ignorant about Vikings. I'm not gonna lie. I was always under the perception that Vikings were just savages that ran around and raped and pillaged. But judging by the trailer, it's looking like the story they're trying to tell is like what you know about Vikings is not 100% true. Like, yeah, they were savages to some degree, but maybe they're gonna try to turn them into like anti-heroes. They're gonna try to make you understand their savagery, because in the cinematic trailer they made it seem like the King of England was up to some bullshit to try to smear their image, and it seemed like the Vikings were just looking for a home, and they wouldn't let him in. So instead the Vikings kicked down the door or something. I don't know. I'm keeping an open mind. So am I excited about it after playing Odyssey? Sure. I love Assassin's Creed. I'm not excited by the fact that Ubisoft announced that on the Xbox Series X, Assassin's Creed Valhalla will only be running at 4K 30 FPS. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty disappointed to hear that, seeing as that, you know, for the last 2 or 3 years maybe, Microsoft has been touting about those 10 teraflops that their new consoles got. It's gonna be able to do 100. Mind you, you remember they said in that video 120 frames. And Ubisoft is saying, I don't know about that, bro. We only gonna be doing 30. So next gen consoles coming out in 60 FPS is still not a standard. That's kind of weird. It makes me wonder, was Microsoft lying, or is Ubisoft just trying to do like console parity or something like that? I don't know. But it is a little bit concerning, because if Microsoft was lying and the consoles are not powerful enough to do at least 4K 60 FPS, it's concerning because Valhalla is a cross-generational game. In my opinion, it's not even a true next-gen title, if that makes sense. Like, you remember when Call of Duty, the first Call of Duty came out, and it also came out on the 360 as well as the new Xbox One and the PS3 and the PS4. Like, that was a cross-generational game. It's not a true next-generational experience because they have to build a version of the game that also works on both platforms versus only working for one. So if you mean to tell me, and Valhalla is a cross-generational game, it's going to be available on PS4, Xbox One, as well as Xbox Series X and the PS5. And you mean to tell me that a game that's not even going to be pushing hardware in terms of texture to its maximum can't even run 60 FPS? That's a bit of concern for me. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't really care that much. I could just get it on PC. It's all about the gameplay. Let's see the gameplay. Yo, Ubisoft, stop lying. Shame on you. You made me wake up at 10 in the morning to see a gameplay trailer, and then all y'all did was show some in-engine bullshit. It wasn't even no fucking real gameplay. So hopefully we will get some gameplay, but it is what it is. Somebody from Twitter, he actually asked me about Assassin's Creed. So follow me on Twitter if you guys want to ask me questions. Whenever I'm about to do a podcast, I always put out a tweet, hey, I'm working on show notes. If you want to present a question, leave it here, reply to this tweet. And this question comes from Goku Black, and it pertains to Assassin's Creed. He says, since you're an Assassin's Creed fan, where do you think the series fell off? Why do you think it did? And where do you see the series going after this new one? All right, so in my opinion, first of all, I don't think the series ever fell off. I think the series stopped innovating. I think it became, what's the word? Content. I think Assassin's Creed became content. The only real game in the Assassin's Creed main line, in my opinion, that's kind of trash is Unity. But even still, I'm starting to see some people, like, there are a lot of Unity fans out there. Like, once they patched the game, some people are saying that Unity is one of the best in the series. It had some of the best parkour in the game, but I don't know. I haven't played it recently, and I'm not going to go back and play it because I don't have time. But like when Unity first came out, that shit was buggy trash. That was the only one in the series that you could say definitively was trash. And you could also say it was bullshit because they said it was going to have co-op, but the co-op didn't even pertain to the main story. It was some bullshit side missions. But other than that, I can't think of any Assassin's Creed where I was like, yo, because to me, it fell off is about looking at a discography of a person's body of work and looking at the averages. How many good things did they drop versus how many bad things did they drop? In my opinion, there are way more good Assassin's Creed games and like kind of average Assassin's Creed games than there are bad. The only one that's bad, in my opinion, was Assassin's Creed Unity. At least that I can think off the top of my head. In my opinion, Revelations didn't innovate, but it was underrated because of the story that they told with Ezio and Altair. Syndicate was just kind of middle. It was just like, it was kind of there. Like, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just kind of all right. But I would have never said Assassin's Creed fell off. I think it just became content and they stopped innovating. But what was the reason? He said, why do you think and where do you see the series going? Oh, why do I think? Like I said, well, I guess I answered your question. I don't know what's wrong with me. They became content. They wanted to do annual releases and they stopped innovating. And you see, when they took a 2-year break and they came back with Origins, that's when people started fucking with the game. And also people were fucking with Odyssey heavy. Fun fact for those of you who didn't know, they were actually working on Odyssey before Origins. So Odyssey's development cycle was longer than Odyssey and the Origins. The only reason I know that is because because E3, the year when they first revealed Odyssey, I got to play Odyssey at Ubisoft's booth. Well, it wasn't a booth. They had kind of a behind the scenes like recording session. And I asked the developers, I was like, one of my concerns with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is, I was like, you guys just came out with Origins. I was like, how long have you guys been working on this game? Is this just another cash grab? Like, what's new about this? And he told me, the developer told me, he was like, we started working on Odyssey before Origins came out. Origins was actually a spawn of Odyssey. And that's why the games are somewhat similar. And then I was like, all right, well, what's new in this game? He's like, just play and see. And then I did the move where you could throw your knife and then teleport and stab somebody. I was like, what the hell? I was like, did I just teleport? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh. I was like, okay, there is some new shit in here. Okay. I was like, I'm kind of fucking with this. I was like thoroughly surprised by Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I like a good surprise. Today's episode is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Skillshare offers classes on so many different types of crafts. Think photography, video editing, web design, coding, Photoshop, and more. Skillshare offers creative classes designed for real people and all the circumstances that come with it. It's always the right time to stay inspired, express yourself, and connect with a community of millions. Settle your mind if you're anxious. Explore classes that may help you express what you're feeling through creative self-discovery. This is membership with meaning. Skillshare believes a strong community is essential in times of hardship. Tap into the support of fellow creators who provide encouragement, communication, and inspiration. Drawing, writing, journalism classes, they all could be a great way to help manage stress, practice mindfulness, and feel connected to one another. You know, one of my favorite classes right now is iPhone filmmaking. Create cinematic video with your iPhone by Caleb Babcock. I prefer a dedicated camera when shooting content on the go, but if I don't have one on hand, then my phone will have to do. So I figured, well, why not learn some of the more advanced techniques of shooting film on an iPhone so that I can get the most out of it. The best part is this course is only 8 parts, with the longest part only being 12 minutes. It's honestly no excuse not to learn when you're getting such high quality courses in such short period of time. So check it out. Since Skillshare is a sponsor of the show, feel free to explore your creativity and get 2 free months of premium membership at Skillshare.com/Hokage. That's 2 whole months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free at Skillshare.com/Hokage. That's 2 free months of unlimited access to thousands of classes at Skillshare.com/Hokage. So where do you see this series going after this new one? After Valhalla completes, I believe if they take everything they've learned from the previous games, Valhalla has the potential to be the best one. It'll find that nice little middle ground between the old and the new fans of Assassin's Creed. In terms of where it's gonna go, unfortunately, I feel like Valhalla might be the last like good Assassin's Creed game that we get. And I say that because if you know the ending, if you saw the ending to Odyssey, they can basically just keep making Assassin's Creed games, and they're gonna, as long as they're making money, they're gonna keep making Assassin's Creed games. And in my opinion, where I want it to go, and where I think 99.9% of the community wants it to go, is to Japan. Which, by the way, that's basically what Ghost of Tsushima is. But I think most of the community wants it to go to Japan, and it's super annoying because this is a slight spoiler. In Assassin's Creed Odyssey, there's one moment in the game where they confirm there is a brotherhood in Japan. Like, I'm talking about, they straight up, I was like, hey, yo, I was like, is the next one Japan? That's low-key why I was disappointed. when it first leaked, the next one will be in a Viking era, because they confirmed there's a brotherhood in Japan. It was during one of the modern day scenes. You had to walk around a room, and it was like a voiceover message from the brotherhood in Japan. I was like, hold up. I was like, are they teasing? We're finally going to Japan after this? So I think that's where most people in the community want the game to go, to Japan. But in my opinion, Ubisoft will not go to Japan until everybody stops buying Assassin's Creed. And I feel like Ubisoft is the type of company where they take one step forward and two steps back. I think the success of Origins and Odyssey, and probably Valhalla, is going to be successful. The success of these three games is going to make them cocky, and they're going to start pushing out more bullshit. And we're going to get another era of Unity, fucking Syndicate, Revelations, games they're just pushing out that are just kind of like, they're not bad, but just more Assassin's Creed. And when people finally start voicing their opinions and they get sick of the shit, when everybody's tired, they don't want no more Assassin's Creed, that's when Ubisoft's gonna be like, they're gonna dangle it over here, Japan, we're finally going, and they're gonna sucker us back in. So that's where I think it's gonna happen. I think Valhalla has the potential to be probably the last good Assassin's Creed game, and then we're about to enter an era of bullshit. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's what my gut tells me. That's what my gut tells me, because Ubisoft has a track record and history tends to repeat itself. Let me get this fucking water, man. Jesus Christ, I'm talking. Next piece of news. Since last podcast, Sony did a state of the play where they showed off Ghost of Tsushima. They showed off a bunch of like gameplay. I wonder if I can bring it up. Let's see. Ghost. I'm tired of being like in full screen on the video version. If you want to check out the video version of the podcast, youtube.com/the Black Hokage. I don't want the audio to play. Let's go into full screen. Let's see, article. We're gonna have the gameplay going in the background. Here you go. So y'all can check out the gameplay for yourselves. It's 18 minutes of it. So since the last podcast, since the last podcast, there was a Sony State of the Play where they revealed more gameplay for Ghost of Tsushima. They kind of showed off the environment. They showed off combat. They showed off stealth, customization, and I know a lot of you are probably wondering what I think about it. First things first, I like how vibrant this game is, but if I had to criticize like the graphics, I don't know if it's because of YouTube and like, you know how like they be compressing videos and stuff like that, but am I the only one that notices like the game kind of sort of still looks ashy? I'm hoping that's just the video. Like, it's colorful and ashy at the same time. It's a really weird combination, but the world looks breathtaking. It looks like it'll be really fun to explore. My only concern is they said there's no waypoints, so it makes me wonder, is the game going to be really short and it's going to get padded by the fact that you're probably going to get lost because there's no waypoints? That is a concern for me. You're supposed to just follow the wind. That's what people were telling me in the chat. I was like, what? I was like, I don't know about that, but the world is beautiful. Characters look cool. As for the combat, it looks like straight up Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. It looks Arkham Origins, can't forget about that, which is better than Arkham Knight, by the way. Anyways, unpopular opinion. Yeah. I don't know why that's so funny to me. What? Fucking Batman. What? But anyways, the combat is straight up Batman. It's like a beat 'em up hack and slash action game with like a counter system. It looked exactly like Batman, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I like Batman type games. The stealth looked like Assassin's Creed. He's like running on top of buildings and stuff like that. Let me see if I can skim forward so y'all can see some of that stuff, because he was just walking around in the beginning of it. The stealth, he was like walking on top of logs and he jumped down and he stabbed people and stuff. So the people who are like complaining, if you haven't seen the gameplay, go on YouTube and search State of the Play Ghost of Tsushima gameplay. It's an 18-minute demo, or if you're watching the video version, you'll see the gameplay right now. For those complaining they want Assassin's Creed in Japan, honestly, this is what it looks like. It looks like Batman, Assassin's Creed meets, or like Shadow of Mordor in Japan. And I'm not mad at that, but at the same time, I'm kind of a little disappointed, for the simple fact that like this looks like, in my opinion, this looks like one of those games that's going to be a solid exclusive for the PS4, but it's not going to innovate on any front. And I could be wrong. I'm strictly basing this off what I saw in this gameplay. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, just off face value, this looks like it's going to be another Horizon Zero Dawn, another Tomb Raider, Like it's not a bad. It looks like it's gonna be 8 out of 10. It looks like it's gonna be another solid exclusive, but I feel like based off the gameplay I've seen, the only thing that could push this game to get a 9 out of 10 out of most publications is the story in this game has to be mind blowing, because the gameplay is not. The gameplay looks like it's gonna be a solid. It'll be like, all right, but it's gonna be like, I've been here, done that before. Like, that's the vibe I get. So I feel like the story has to be fucking amazing for it to push the limits. But I feel like most publications are gonna give this game an 8 out of 10 based off what I saw. Something I definitely want to play, but I don't think it's gonna blow my mind. They showed a little bit of the customization. You can wear a lot of different like ninja samurai outfits and stuff, and each one has like different stats, and it's gonna affect the game differently. So I'm curious to see, like, if you wear like the samurai armor, is that gonna affect your ability to be stealthy? Like, is it gonna fuck up your balance, so then you're not gonna be able to climb as well on like more narrow objects, and you trip off, and then you're not able to do your little pull off your little stealth kill? That'll be interesting. But I mean, kind of that's all I really had to say about this. Like, I just didn't see anything, and like, I don't want anybody thinking I'm bashing this. Like, I just didn't see anything here that like blew my mind, to be honest. It just looked like it was gonna be another solid 8 out of 10. I was like, I'll play that, but like, I'm not excited about this like Cyberpunk, to be honest. And then on top of that, even though this is quote unquote, the people are calling this the Assassin's Creed game people want in Japan, it's still not Assassin's Creed. Like, it's its own story, something about mongrels invading Japan and you got to defend the land or whatever, and you're like some samurai that went rogue against the code and doing anything to protect your people. He's basically like an isolationist or some shit. I don't know. It's still not Assassin's Creed in the sense that like the gameplay may be similar, but it don't got nothing to do with Minerva and the Apple of Eden and the Templars and shit. Like, motherfuckers want to see that shit. They want to see it. But it's looking like a day one cop for me. I just don't expect my mind to be blown. My expectations honestly were kind of lowered based off what I saw here and the way people hype it up. I think people for this game, they're just getting really hyped off the graphics. The world looks really interesting and the graphics are pretty. But once you break down the gameplay mechanics, I don't see anything innovative here at all. Just looks like another solid, well-polished third-person stealth action game. And if you're cool with that, I definitely think Ghost of Tsushima is probably going to be for you. That's all I got on that one. I wish I had something deeper to say, but I don't know. It comes out July 17th, and it's made by Sucker Punch. They're the ones that made Sly Cooper, right? I think they did. Let me do this. Sucker Punch Studios. They made Infamous, and they made Sly Cooper. So yeah, if you're looking for that next Sucker Punch project, pull up on that Ghost of Tsushima July 17th. Those are just a few thoughts from me. All right, the next thing that I wanted to talk about in the gaming, and this is the last in the gaming section, and then we're gonna get into your questions that you guys submitted on Twitter. Doom Eternal. I wanted to do a review of that since the last podcast. I beat Doom Eternal. I don't feel like I'm going to spend as much time talking about this as I did Final Fantasy VII. So, I mean, we could run through this really quickly just for like clarification. The last Doom I played was the one on PC from like the 90s, like the original Doom. I did play that game, but like I by no shape or form am I a Doom was I a Doom fan. I tried playing Doom 2016, but it crashed my computer. You know how Bethesda games do. That's why I don't buy them. And for those of you unaware, the only reason I almost said I bought, I would never buy it, but the only reason I played Doom Eternal was because somebody donated it to me. So like, I'm a man of my word. If you donate the game to me, I'll try it. So I can say, if you're wondering, if you don't want to sit here and listen to me go into detail, I guess I'm a Doom fan after beating Doom Eternal. I enjoyed the game, and I think it's worth $60. And here's why. First and foremost, the positives. I have 5 positives and 3 negatives. The first positive, this game is gorgeous and it's bloody. And also, I didn't put this on my notes, but this game is very optimized. I was surprised for a Bethesda game. People were saying because this is just being published by Bethesda. It's actually id Software game, so they developed it. But then didn't id Software also develop Dishonored and Dishonored 2? And Dishonored 2 that shit was janky too. Like, it was a great game, but like it was really unoptimized. It damn near crashed my PC a couple times when I streamed it. But that's beside the point. This game is gorgeous. It's bloody and it's optimized. So it will not burn your computer out. It looks great. If you like stabbing people, you like fast-paced action, just seeing blood squirting everywhere. This is a game about going to hell, and you're gonna cause some hell. So if you're the squeamish type, it's not gonna be for you, but I liked it. It was cool. I like the bloody shit. My first negative is this is a review is an opinion anyway, but this is a super opinionated thing. I don't know if I'm 100% able to articulate myself on this, but when it comes to Doom Eternal, you have to be in the mood to play this game. This is a negative for me. Sometimes I just want to cut on a game and play to escape the world and like relax, you know, and socialize with friends and stuff like that. But with Doom Eternal, I could not play this game every day. That's why I think it took me. The game is not even that long. It's like 15 to 20 hours depending on your skill level. And then if you play it on like hard, it's even longer. I play it on normal because remember I play my games on fun. But what I mean by you have to be in a certain mood to play this game is like you had to have gotten enough sleep the previous night. You gotta have some food in your stomach. You can't play hungry. You can't have had a bad day. Like, well, maybe if you had a bad day because you could take it out on the demons and stuff. But you get the point that I'm trying to make. Like you can. The first time I played this game, the first day when I was streaming it, I was tired that day. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like the game literally hurt my eyes, and it gave me like a slight headache. This game is so fast paced. You might have heard it in the video that I uploaded. It's sensory overload. It's gonna tap into all your senses. This game is, I don't think there's a game that's faster on the fucking market. Once you learn the mechanics of the shooting and shit and the platforming, I don't think there's a faster game on the market. Fucking this shit is faster than any Sonic the Hedgehog game that I've recently played. It is sensory overload, and it hurt my eyes at certain points. Eventually I adjusted, but I'm just letting you know, you have to be in a certain type of mood. Do not play this game if you're tired and you're not in the mood for any type of shit, because like it's definitely gonna push you to the edge in terms of like you got to sit up and really play this shit. It is fucking balls to the wall, high octane shit. But then on the flip side of things, that's also a positive. That's also what I liked about it. I put this in my positives. You have to be in a certain mood to play it, but at the same time, it's a negative and a positive, I guess. This is the first time this has ever happened. It's also positive that it's fast paced. I enjoyed the fact that it's fast paced. You're jumping from demon to demon, stabbing them in the eye, shooting them in the face with rockets and shit. Once you learn how the weapons work together and how to use the environment to your ability, like to your advantage, and you string the things together, the fast pace becomes your advantage and it becomes very fun. So like I said, I guess it comes down to like, you just have to be in a certain type of mood. It is fun that it's fast paced, but then it can also be really annoying because it was some days where I'm just like, I am not in the mood for this shit. This is a little bit too much. It's sensory overload. The next negative, Marauders. There's an enemy type in the game called Marauders. I actually just came up with another positive. Hold up. There's an enemy type in the game called Marauders. Whether you're playing on normal or hard, you're gonna get a headache. These motherfuckers, they have a shield, a projectile, and they have guns. They have a shield to block your. So if you get too close, he's gonna shield himself, and then if you're too far away, he's gonna shoot like this mystical tiger at you that chases after you, and you have to dodge his gun at the same time. And he fucking teleports left and right, fucking bobbing and weaving and shit. So basically, you have to stay at the right distance at the right and hit him at the right time. You can only hit him at certain times. It's hard for me to explain. You'll see it in some of my gameplay if you watch it on my second channel. I'm uploading the playthrough at youtube.com/BlackHokagePlays. Every time these motherfuckers showed up, it was like 100 enemies on my ass, and then he wants to show up and also want to fight. In all honesty, the Marauder was harder, and the Marauder's a mini boss. He's a mini boss that appears out of nowhere in certain fights. The Marauders, in my opinion, were harder than majority of the bosses. I only got stuck on one boss in the game. Even the final boss wasn't hard to me. I only got stuck on, and it was the second to last boss. That one annoyed the living shit out of me. But the Marauder, in my opinion, was harder than fucking some of the bosses. That shit was annoying. It was not fun. Every time he showed up, it wasn't fun in my opinion. But on the flip side, this is the positive I just wrote down. A positive is this game is full of a lot of different enemy types. It was constantly, even towards the end of the game, it introduced new enemy types. It seemed like every level there was a new enemy type that was introduced, and when there's new enemies constantly being introduced and being mixed in with the old ones, it keeps the game fresh because only certain weapons worked on certain enemies, certain combos and certain movements and stuff like that worked on certain enemies. So I like the fact that there was a ton of different enemy types in the game, and it constantly kept you thinking. And that kind of goes into another positive that I have, which is, do not judge this game on face value. On face value, it looks like a super dude bro balls to the wall, just shoot everything and you win type of game. And honestly, it's not that simple. This game is actually very strategic. A lot of people call it ethos in the podcast, not the previous, but 2 podcast episodes ago on the GI podcast. They called him stupid because he said it was a lot like chess, and I understood what he was saying. I actually agree with him. It's very strategic in a sense that, like, the only way you can get ammo in the game is you have to chainsaw people and then they drop ammo. But the thing is, you have limited fuel, so you have to pick and choose the right time to chainsaw enemies. When you also have to learn how to shoot enemies to the point where you're fast enough where you don't kill them, but then you could farm them for health because you have to use your little physical ultimate ability to make them drop health. So and then you also have to know when to spam your dodge move, and you have to learn how to use the monkey bars to swing all over the place. It's not as simple as just shoot at the enemy and you win. You have to know when to farm health, when to farm ammo. You have to know which weapons hurt certain enemies more. Also, you have to know every enemy. Like I said, there's a ton of enemies, different enemy types, and they all have like different weak points, and you have to learn them. Fire in this game, you get like a flamethrower and that drops armor, so you have to remember to spam that at the right times. The ice grenade, like, there's way more strategy in it than you think, and if you judge it at face value, you're getting the wrong idea. This game is much deeper than it thinks, and you have to play it for yourself to actually understand it. So the game is very strategic, and I enjoyed that strategy, so I give that as a positive. And last but not least, in all honesty, because I had mostly just positives, this is just me I'm nitpicking. I put on the negatives the story. And the reason I say nitpicking is because to be all honest, nobody plays Doom for the fucking story. But that being said, there is a story in here. There's a few cutscenes here and there. Something about you going to hell and slaying Satan or something. I don't know. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, but that's me nitpicking. I put a negative in the story. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But at the end of the day, people play Doom for the gameplay. They don't play it for the story. And then the last few positives I have is the game is challenging, but it's satisfying. I did get frustrated at certain points, but I always felt satisfied when I beat it. And then there's a ton of different like weapon upgrades. There's a bunch of different weapons. Each weapon has different like second functions, like different like special abilities, and you can use your points to unlock those. And then there's also a RPG wheel where you can unlock different abilities like parkour faster, or when you kill somebody you move faster, kill somebody you slow down time, get your grenades back. There's a bunch of different RPG elements in it, so there's a lot of customization, a bunch of different suits and stuff like that, and you get all of that if you take the time to explore. The game is very balls to the wall, fast paced, but the way they slow it down is there are certain sections where you can explore the area and you can unlock and find different like upgrades and stuff like that, and I really like that. So all in all, I will say that I enjoyed Doom Eternal. I am a Doom fan after this. I think it's worth $60. One of the most unique shooters on the market. I would say do not sleep on this game. This shit is fucking awesome. If you haven't, look up some fucking gameplay on YouTube. Just watch people play it and watch them string together different abilities and fighting a bunch of different enemies and shit like that. This is a game that makes you feel like a badass once you understand the mechanics. In my opinion, that's why it's worth $60. And that's for all the people out there. You say, yo, TBH hates every fucking game. He doesn't fucking I recommended 2 games in one fucking podcast, bro. I recommended Astro Chain. I recommended Luigi's Mansion 3. There's actually, I could actually argue I've liked more games recently than I have not. But motherfuckers just want to always focus on what I uninstall. You don't ever want to talk about what I like. I'm just saying. So check out Doom Eternal. Anyways, I'm done ranting. We're going to take a swig of this water, and then we're going to get into the question sections of the podcast. Jesus, we're already an hour in. Oh, this is going to be a long one. We an hour into the show, and we haven't even gotten to the questions. So I'm going to try to run through these as quick as possible. So I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of mentally exhausted on talking. Hey, $ to Black Hokage 08. Send a donation to the Cash App while I'm taking a swig of this water. So follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is Mr_I keep it real. And the first question comes from Waylay. And he asks, how do you get it across to certain people that if they expect you to be successful, he typed you in capital, they need to play their part in that, in what, hold on, let me read this back. How do you get it across to certain people that if they expect you to be successful, they also need to play their part in what, in that, whether friends, family, or fans? He typed that really weird. I copy and pasted your question. That was really weird the way you worded that. It's like people are always thirsty but never want to pay for a drink. Huh. I know I took this question down. Now, this question is kind of confusing. Like, if I could speak to you, I would ask you to further elaborate, because you put in capital letters you said, how do you get it across to certain people that if they expect you to be successful, they need to play their part? I guess that's what you're saying. I'm confused on why they need to play a part in your success. What are we talking about here? It's hard for me to answer this question and give you proper, which, by the way, when we get into this advice section and we talk about life and stuff, I'm just letting y'all know, people are asking me questions. Whatever I say is not the end all be all. I don't have all the answers to life. This is just people asking me questions and me trying to answer them to the best of my ability. But I'm not an expert on everything in life. I'm just putting that out there. That's a disclaimer. But anyways, yeah, I'm confused. You expect people to play their part in your success, and I'm confused by that. The only way that can make sense to me is if you go into business with friends and family. Like, let's say you guys open a bakery and you open it with one friend and like your brother, but they're not showing up to work. I guess that would make sense because your success is also determined by their effort. But this question's kind of hard to answer because I don't actually know what you're saying. If you're talking about like you're going to college, you're working on becoming a doctor, I don't understand why they have to play a part in your success. Maybe I can understand like your frustration if they're not giving you like words of encouragement, but even still, if it's your goal, it's your goal. I think my question to you would be, why are you so worried about what everybody else says if it's your goal? Nobody ever accomplished anything being scared. And to me, that sounds like some scared shit. Like I'm personally not worried about what anybody got to say if it's my goal. Like I said, the only way that can make sense to me is if you went into business. Like your goals involve your family and friends. Then I understand your frustration because people aren't pulling their weight and they're not doing it. But like, what are you looking for? A pat on the back? Like, I'm gonna assume you're an adult. Why do you need a pat on the back? Like, the only person I look for a pat on the back from is maybe my significant other. I don't even look for that shit from my parents. Just listen, this is one thing, and this kind of hold up, I think somebody asked me like what's one of the things since I hopped off the porch. This kind of goes, we can go into that question. Actually, that's the very next question. It comes from Demented Gamer, and he asked, after hopping off the porch so long ago and being where you are and knowing what are the hardest things that you've come to terms in life. All right, so I hopped off the porch like 10 years ago. I've been on my own. I'm 29 now. I've had my own place ever since. One of the things that I learned, and this kind of pertains to the original question, is just because somebody is your blood doesn't mean that they right. Like, just because that's your mother, that's your auntie, that's your cousin, doesn't mean they know everything. They know what's best for you. So going back to the original question, I don't even understand why you're so worried about that. I think you need to dig deeper and ask yourself, why do you care so much about them, quote unquote, playing their role? Because I don't understand what role they play in your success if you're not in business with them. If they're, so what, they're not giving you words of encouragement? Fuck them. Laugh at them when you're successful. But like I said, it's kind of hard for me to answer that question because I don't know the details. So if anything, I apologize that I'm not 100% able to answer this question. I will say, for anybody listening, in the future, if you do present questions like this, try to be as specific as possible, even if you got to submit like multiple tweets, so I can get a better understanding of what you're working with, because this one's kind of hard to answer and I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. I mean, I never want to steer anybody in the wrong direction, but my gut tells me that you're not entering business with any family or friends. My gut tells me you're in school for something, or you started a business for yourself and you're upset that, I don't know, let's say you started a t-shirt line. You're upset that your family and friends won't wear your t-shirts on their Instagram. It'd be nice if they did, but the reality is they don't have to. And why are you so focused on that? You should be focused on your goals, because at the end of the day, you put it in capital letters. You kind of answered your own question. It is your goal. Your goal, not your mama, not your daddy, not your cousin. It's not their goal. It's your goal. Don't you ever forget that. It's not anybody else's job to chase that dream but you. So put your shoes on and get to running and quit crying. Demented Gamer, like you said, that was the next question. I kind of answered the question. That's the life lessons I learned. Demented. Just because somebody is your blood don't mean they right. And also save money. Always have a rainy day fund. You never know when some shit's gonna pop up. Like, it kind of pertained, like, especially like a lot of y'all be trying to live with your significant other and shit like that. If you choose to do that, make sure you can always pay rent by yourself. Keep a rainy day fund, because you never know when somebody start fucking around with their money and shit like that. Money ruins relationships. That's what I learned. Don't expect nothing from nobody. If you're doing something, do it because you just want to help them. Don't do it because you expect something, because I promise you're gonna get your feelings hurt every single time. Just because you treat people nicely don't mean they gonna treat you nicely. Don't you ever forget that. And that does not, and also just to add on to that, because I feel like it's a very common term, just because you treat people a certain type of way doesn't mean they're gonna treat you that certain type of way back. And that doesn't make them a bad person, because the reality is you created a fantasy in your head about that person. Oh, you know, I paid for their lunch, you know, last week, so I thought they were gonna pay for my lunch this week. I just thought that's, you know, you don't know that person like that. It don't make them a bad. That person just thought you was doing them a favor. And don't you ever forget that. Quit expecting shit. Jay the Great, he asked the question. He said, what's one time you took a risk on a project and the reward was better than you expected? I mean, I talked about this, I think, on the last episode with the skincare page on Instagram. It started off as a joke. Everybody would always ask me why. Well, they weren't joking. People were always asking me in the Twitch chat, why is my skin so clear? How did I get it like that? So then I talked a little bit about what I use to wash my face, what I use to moisturize and stuff like that. And then I joked around about making an Instagram or a YouTube page dedicated to men's hygiene. Then eventually I said, fuck it. And I made the page. And the response has been overwhelming. And I'm still not very consistent with it at all, because I don't make any money off of that shit. So I post whenever I feel like it. But even still, it was a risk taking, because at the end of the day, I had to risk my time. Time is the only form of currency that you cannot get back. And the reward has been much better than expected. I can see it going further. It's just going to take time. But every time I log on to Instagram, I have like 50 new followers on that page and shit like that. That shit, it's growing faster than my fucking gaming page, which means there's a lot of people, there's a lot of dudes out there that there's a market for it. There's a lot of dudes out there looking to learn how to better wash their ass. And they're probably too ashamed to ask, because you know, not a lot, but certain people make fun of certain people. They might say it's gay or it's feminine to be hygienic. But I've always said that the most masculine thing that a man can do is take care of himself. When a woman sees that you can take care of yourself, that pussy get wet. I promise you. My girl be asking me about shit. Oh, wait, like I just don't like. Y'all got to stop doing that shit. If I could, I know this has nothing to do with your question. Y'all got to stop doing this shit. I had to check somebody in my Twitch chat the other day. I think I was playing Call of Duty Warzone, and he was like, this game is fucking gay. And I'm just like, can y'all expand y'all vocabulary, bro? If you don't like something, just say that you don't like it. Say it's whack. It's not gay. Gay means, homosexual means you're attracted to the same sex. Stop saying that shit. Expand your fucking vocabulary. It does not make you a homosexual because you want to have clearer skin, because you want to wash your face. It does not make you a homosexual because you want your teeth whiter. What are we talking about here, bro? I promise you. You know what? Let me stop. I need to stop talking about it. More pussy for me. How about that? More pussy for me. Because y'all don't want to wash your ass. Your bitch coming over and talking to me. How about that? Stop doing that shit. But that's the risk that I took. I risked my time, and I feel like I've been rewarded. A lot of people have been following. Like I said, a lot of dudes have been shamed into thinking certain things aren't cool. And I'm here to be the OG and let you know, don't let nobody bully you because you want to take care of yourself. You want to take better care of yourself. I promise you, it's an icebreaker. And I've had people in my Twitch chat attest to that too. Like I had girls come to me in college. They ask me like, "What do you use to wash your face?" Next thing you know, what's your name, girl? Let me come over. I can show you my routine. You know what I'm saying? Find new ways to get in there, new intellectual ways to get that pussy. But also just wash your ass. Anyways, next question comes from Vendetta. And he asks, content creation versus a real job. And he put that in quotation marks, real steady job. If the idea you have for your channel or whatever your platform you want to use is something you really want to do, but isn't realistic, like a 9-to-5, is it worth going for? Should you do a 9-to-5 instead you have a platform to quit? Should you do a 9-to-5 until you have a platform, then quit? So basically it sounds to me like he wants to get into content creation, but I'm gonna guess somebody in your family doesn't believe that you can do it. They don't think it's realistic, or you might think that it's not realistic. You might be just you doubting yourself. I always tell people, don't quit school, don't quit your job to become a fucking YouTuber or a Twitch streamer or Instagram or doing all that shit or a TikToker. Yes, there is a ton of money to be made, but it is not easy. It is very hard, like everything else. I actually really hate the question when people be like, yo, what can I do to get more views? I've been doing this shit for 12 years and every day I learn something new. 12 years. I started my first YouTube channel when I was 17. I am 29 now. And I'm just now starting to make some serious fucking money. And I love it. Which, by the way, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, they say that, you know, an overnight success takes 10 years on average. And I find it to be true. It took me 12. I remember there was like a speech Meek Mill gave. He's like, it took me 13 years. Why can't it take you? Just because you didn't see somebody's grind doesn't mean they wasn't grinding. You just started paying attention. Don't you ever forget that. But I'm not speaking to you specifically. That's beside the point. I would advise you to keep your job, stay in school, and do content creation on the side. Because one thing you got to realize is you might get into it and find that you don't like it, and then you get stuck and disgruntled and shit like that. So I would say I honestly, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't know if I said this on a podcast or on a stream. So everybody knows I was a teacher in my past life. The only reason I quit my job, I could have quit my job early on. I've been a full-time content creator for 6 years now. So 6 years ago, I quit my job at, wait, let's see. Was it 20, 28, 29? Yeah, I was like 23 or 24 when I quit my job. I'm sorry, I had to do the math. I don't be knowing how old I am. 23, I was like 23 or 24 when I quit my job. The only reason I quit my job is because it was, first of all, it was a government job. I was teaching like kids who were, they were the kids of like Pentagon, they were Pentagon parents. Like their parents worked in the Pentagon. They were like diplomats and like generals and colonels and stuff like that, high-ranking people. So I had a government job. And the only reason I quit was because the furlough had happened that year, and they were cutting people's hours and they were laying people off at my job. And eventually it got to me, they cut my hours, and like the writing was on the wall. Like it was gonna get to a point where I knew I was gonna get laid off. And at that point, to be honest, I only quit my job. No, I don't want to quit my job. Where am I going with this? At that point, the only reason that I didn't quit my job was I was making enough money at that time when the furlough was happening. I was making enough money off at that time to quit my job. But the concept of being a full-time like content creator was like so new back then. Like it was like scary to me. So I wasn't comfortable with like quitting my job. It wasn't a lot of people that I knew that was doing it, but I was making enough money. Like I did the numbers in my head. I was making enough money to where I could quit my job and become a full-time content creator. But I didn't, because I just wanted to get out the house. Honestly, I was doing YouTube and Twitch on the side, and I was making enough money to pay my rent and live comfortably, but I still went to work every day and worked a full-time job, by the way, fucking 60-hour weeks and shit, being a teacher. And I'd come home and I'd have like real late nights. A lot of times I didn't go to bed till like 3, 4. That's beside the point. Only reason I quit is because I was gonna get laid off. I knew the writing was on the wall. They cut my hours. I went from full-time to part-time. I was like, oh, it's only a matter of time before they lay me off. So I put my 2 weeks in. And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll the dice and try it and see where it goes. And if it doesn't work, I'm gonna freaking, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm gonna go find a different job. But from what I find, it's a lot of people out here. They get like 5,000 followers. They start getting cocky and shit like that. And then the next thing you know, they quit their job and they're like, I'm gonna go full-time content creator. I got 20 views on Twitch. I think I can get a sponsorship with G Fuel. Next thing you know, they make a video crying, I'm sorry guys, I let you down. No, you let yourself down. You're a fucking idiot, bro. I don't feel bad for people like that. Like I said, I had been making, you got to get to a point. To me, I looked at YouTube and Twitch as like a way to fund my hobby. I was still going to work full time every day, and I was making enough money, but I just used it to buy video games and do more reviews. I was like, I'm not gonna try to live off this shit. But because I got cut from my job, it kind of forced my hand. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this and go full time and focus my energy on it and see how it works and just try to learn the business and shit like that. So I always encourage people to answer your question. Keep your job, stay in school, whatever productive, positive thing you're doing, you should always have multiple sources of income, multiple ways of doing things. And then build up your platform on the side. And if things start to work out for you and you start crunching the numbers and you think, I can make this work, then sure, go for it. But it's too many people jumping the gun, bro. Get 100 viewers on Twitch and think they about to live off that shit, bro. Like, nah, dog. You gotta learn how to get sponsorships. You gotta learn how to produce different types of content that can attract sponsorships and shit like that. Like, it's to the point, like, I'm not even trying to brag. It's to the point where, like, this episode of this podcast pays my rent. And this is just me recording me talking about life and video games for an hour. This episode will pay my rent next month. Everything that I make off Twitch, everything that I make off YouTube, everything that I make off of like merch and stuff, I pocket it. And also taxes. So like that's what I would advise you to. If you want to get into content creation, understand, and that also that hygiene thing, that's a long-term project. I'm going to start making money on that eventually too. But I'd advise you to come up with as many different forms of content that you can produce as possible and try to find ways to monetize it as quickly as possible. And then when you have a bunch of different eggs, then take that risk. But too many people get excited because they have 1,000 subs on Twitch and they say they're going to become a full-time content creator. Be like, so you're just going to rely on one source? Because I'm going to be honest, if Twitch stops or if YouTube stops, I'm still fine. Like, I have other sources. I can do merch. I can do the podcast. Shit, I can get the hygiene thing popping. I can find a different way to get money. So I would advise you to think about business a lot. Don't be like me. I made the mistake of I used to always think if your content's hot, the money will come to you. No, you gotta learn the business. I've become much more business savvy over the probably last 2 to 3 years. And now it's fuck you, pay me. I'm not playing that shit no more. Motherfuckers want me to play. Motherfuckers want me to. You know why so many games are getting uninstalled now? Because those games I was never interested in, and people donate them. My rule is if you don't come through to the Twitch stream, so you know, my rule is if I play a game, if there's a game you want me to play and I'm not interested in it, I'm not paying for it for my own money. You can donate $100. Why you gotta donate $100? The game only $60, man. I'll donate the $60. Nope. I gotta make a profit. $60 goes towards the game, and then I make $40 in profit. Honestly, I should charge y'all $120. I should, so I make $60 in profit. Because the reality is I'm not interested in these games. And that's why you see more uninstalled videos, because I'm not interested in these games. People want me to play them. You got to pay me now. You got to pay me to get a headache. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised when you speak things into existence that you get it. You got to be aggressive. You got to be assault. You got to be an assassin. You got to be alpha, bro. Real shit. I'm over here talking about business. But yeah, I think you should do a 9-to-5. I think you should stick to your 9-to-5. Stick to your job. You should never put your eggs in one basket. And that has nothing to do with content creation. That's life and period, dog. That's life and period. Like, that's literally what I wrap my brain around all day. How can I bring in a different source of income? That's what you should be thinking about, as well as good content. But anyways, I hope that answered your question. The next question comes from Jack John Jenga, and he says, do you have any tips on keeping your PC clean, organized, and running smooth and fast? Yeah. First and foremost, make sure you got an SSD. I hope you got an SSD. Second, make sure don't use the default uninstaller if you want to keep your shit clean. Let me see if I can bring it up. When you're uninstalling programs, don't use the default uninstaller. I use one from iOrbit. Let's see. Here it is. I'm gonna bring it up on stream. Make sure to check out the video version at youtube.com/theblack-hokage. It's a free program. It's called iOrbit Uninstaller. I use this program to uninstall programs, and the reason I use it is because when you uninstall it, it also, when it's done uninstalling the program, see with the Windows default uninstaller, it uninstalls shit and like that's it. With this, it uninstalls it and then it searches your computer for leftover files that the program leaves that could potentially slow down your computer. So I would recommend the iOrbit Uninstaller for uninstalling programs when you're done with different type of programs and stuff like that, so you can keep your system clean. And then I also use Advanced System Care for, hold up, let me see. Let me bring that up on the screen for you real quick. So to keep my computer like kind of fast and running, I use this program called Advanced System Care. This is also free. I've actually been using this program maybe since high school, and it's always done me right. It fixes your startup optimization, it cleans your registry, spyware removal, registry defrag, like organizing your files and shit. It fixes any vulnerabilities, optimizes your disks and optimizes your system. And all you have to do is hit scan. Do this maybe like once a week, shit, once a month at bare minimum. You scan it, it'll find all the problems on your computer. You click a button, it'll fix it for them. Restart your computer, you're good to go. Those are two programs that I recommend. And then also keep your desktop clean. I like to have like this minimalist desktop. If you're wondering why my desktop looks like this, because everybody asks me this on fucking Twitch. I use a program called Rainmeter. Rainmeter. RAINMETEE. Not too easy, but R. Rainmeter. It lets you customize your desktop how you see fit. So I gave it kind of more of like a Mac look, kind of a minimalist look with the date and the time on there, and then the wallpaper being kind of like the focus. And then on the left hand side, I have 4 folders. That's it. I don't have much of anything on my desktop. Keep your desktop clean because that can slow down things too. So those are some quick tips to keep things clean. I'm learning just from like talking to other streamers. Most people buy a PC, but most of y'all do not learn how to actually use the PC. Like I find, like, I'm not gonna lie, I've thought about this, and this kind of actually goes back to the previous question I was talking about, finding different ways to make money. I've been thinking about starting a service where I charge people to clean their fucking PCs, because most of y'all do not know how to fucking clean your PC. Like, you treat it like a console, and then you wonder why your shit blow up a year later. Like I use TeamViewer to take control of like other streamers' computers, and I'll go through their shit. They still be having like the fucking the shovelware. You know, when you buy a pre-built PC and it comes with like shovelware, like Norton antivirus and shit. First of all, why do you have an antivirus program on your computer in 2020? Who gets viruses in 2020? Get off Pornhub, dog. They be having tons of different like just shovelware all on their computer that bloats their computer. They don't know how to shut down programs that so here's another tip. I got one for you. So open up your task manager on your PC and then go to the startup tab and look at all the programs that boot up when you install new programs. A lot of them install a function where it starts up your PC. It starts up when your PC starts up. So let's take, I don't know, Epic Games Launcher, right? By default, when you install this program, it enables itself to start up on boot. So when you boot your PC up, it'll also launch the Epic Game Launcher. That gives your computer more tasks to do while it's booting up, so it's gonna slow it down. So what you wanna do is you go to your task manager. If you don't know how to do this, go to the search bar and type in task manager, or Control-Alt-Delete and then go to the task manager. Then go to the startup, and then what you wanna do is you just wanna disable, like, see, sticky notes is enabled. I have it by default because I have sticky notes on my computer on the other monitor. All you gotta do is hit disable, and then like just disable whatever you don't want to auto boot. I don't auto boot anything. I don't even auto boot Discord. Nothing. I disable every fucking thing except for my sticky notes, because those are the reminders of what things that I need to do for the day. But I disable most things on my computer, and you'll find that it completely speeds up your fucking PC. But going back to what I was saying, an idea I did have for making money is, like, I've been learning, like, most y'all do not learn how to, y'all want to learn how y'all can use your computer. Cool, you can pay me to use it. I'll hop on TeamViewer, I'll deep dive into your computer, figure out what's wrong, we'll clean it up, we'll speed it up, and I'm gonna charge you for my time for that hour, for 30 minutes or some shit like that. That's what I've been thinking of doing, because like I find a lot of these streamers and YouTubers, they be having hella shovelware, hella programs booting up at launch. Why is my PC so slow? I can't fucking export a video on Sony Vegas. Well, first of all, your first problem is using Sony Vegas. Get on Adobe or Final Cut Pro, okay? But yeah, I'm thinking about starting a consultation program where I start cleaning motherfuckers' computers, because y'all niggas don't know what y'all doing. Don't worry, come on over to the Papa Hokage. He can pay you, Big Boss Hog. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me switch back over to the full shit. So hopefully that answered your question about some things. Oh, one more thing too, about how you can make your PC faster when it comes to cleaning it up. At least once every 3 months, I would say, at bare minimum. Honestly, I open mine like once a month. Actually open your PC and spray it with most people use condensed air. You can get that in any like hardware store. You can get it like in Walmart or Target too. Condensed air, you spray it in and get the dust out of your PC. The number one killer of gaming, well, PCs period, is dust. If there's a lot of dust buildup in your PC, it makes it harder for your parts to function, and then it overheats and your computer fails. So you always want to keep your computer as cool as possible. If you don't want to do all that organization shit that I just showed you that helps boot it up, at bare minimum, keep the dust out of your PC. You can do that with condensed air, or you can do it. I got this thing off of Amazon. It's like $50. Let's see, air spray. Let me see if I can show it on the. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is the one I bought. Here, I'm gonna put it in. Fucking right here. This is the thing that it's called Computer Cleaner 2.0. This is what I own right here. It costs $50. It's a little pricey, but in my opinion is worth it. Simply because you just plug it into the electrical outlet and it does the same thing as the compressed air, but the difference is it's running off electricity, so it's unlimited air. You have to keep buying those cans. This, you just plug it in, you hit start, and then you just blow. It's like the reverse of a vacuum cleaner. It blows air out, and then you could just get all the dust out of your computer. In my opinion, this is well worth it. I bought mine like 3 years ago, and I love it. So that I would recommend getting one of those. It's definitely worth the money. So that's how you keep your computer clean, in my opinion. Moving on to the last question. It comes from Yabba Dabba, and he says, do you think people are overreacting with the whole snitching thing when it comes to 6ix9ine? Like, yeah, he's a fuckboy, but who cares? He didn't affect me. Meanwhile, everyone celebrates rappers with prolonged histories of domestic violence. Free example he uses, free TK and free Kodak. I think the better question is, why did you ask me this question? You already made up your mind. Like, you have a very, like, I can practically feel your attitude through this question, bro. Like, you think people are overreacting with this whole snitching thing when it comes to 6ix9ine? Like, yeah, he a fuckboy, but who cares? He didn't affect me. Meanwhile, everyone's celebrating rappers with prolonged histories of domestic violence, like free TK, free Kodak. Like, you clearly have a bias. So what's the point of, why do you even want to hear my opinion? You don't care. You don't care about this whole situation. What was the point of this question, dog? But I agree with you. Like, people are there's a lot of hypocrisy in hip hop. I agree with you. And yeah, 6ix9ine is a fuckboy, and yes, it doesn't affect you. So I don't even understand what's you're right about all this. I don't understand what's the point of any of this. I don't care anything about 6ix9ine. I wish people would stop talking about him. He's a troll who just wants some attention, and I just gave him some. So we're getting off this topic. Just stop caring, dog. It's really not that big of a deal. Fucking karma will get that guy. And last but not least, the way we're gonna end this podcast, what I've been listening to on the music front is Future dropped a new album called High Off Life. If you like that toxic shit, you're gonna enjoy that. Drake dropped a new project, Dark Lane Demo Tapes. It's kind of mid. It's all right. It's got some songs on there that I like, but you know. Supposedly this is a mixtape. Some people say it's an album. I'm not sure, but all I can say is Drake has an R&B artist signed to OVO's label. They're called Division, and it's spelled DVSN if you want to search it. Their album that I've been listening to is called Amuse in Her Feelings. It's pretty fire. I'm not gonna lie. If you're looking for some new R&B, I think that's pretty dope. And then Polo G dropped an album called The Goat. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't finished this one, so I don't want to give like a full opinion on it. But based off the few songs I listened to so far, I don't know. I need to listen to that new Griselda project though. I wish I had time for it. That's what I'm listening to next, the new Griselda project. But you know what's not? This podcast. And that's why you should rate it 5 stars on you should rate this podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, because it's great and it helps my podcast grow. I'm tired of fucking talking. So I appreciate everybody coming through to listen to Hokage Thots. Like I said, rate this 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you want to send a donation my way because you enjoyed the show, go to redcircle.com/Hokage Thots or cash at me at $the Black Hokage 08. It's not necessary, but donations are always appreciated. What else do I got to say? Other than that, that's all I got on the show notes. I guess I'll see you guys on the next episode of Hokage Thots.